Marginal revenue, marginal cost. Welcome to FRE Lunch.
Happy holidays from FRE Lunch.
To celebrate, we got you a gift, a very special seasonal season of FRE Lunch.
Are you allowed to say seasonal twice like that?
Anyway, for anyone who just got here, I'm Elena Poulin.
And I'm Caleb Stair.
And this is the official podcast of the Food and Resource Economics Department at the University of Florida.
Each episode of this mini-season will provide a bite-sized insight into economic aspects of your favorite holiday traditions and the hardworking producers who make them possible.
With that, we hope you'll enjoy this season, and on with the episode.
Happy Halloween, everyone!
Anyways, from precision agriculture to pixie sticks, today's spooky October episode is all about sugar cane.
Thank goodness we didn't discuss garlic.
Are you going to be doing that voice the whole time?
Fine. Did you know that Americans purchase nearly 600 million pounds of candy each year for Halloween?
It takes a whole lot of sugar to make that much candy, and sugar doesn't just grow on trees.
That's right. Actually, it's a grass, a perennial grass.
Exactly. So while you've heard that the grass is always greener on the other side, in Florida, it's actually sweeter. You see, sugarcane is one of the essential raw material sources of manufactured sugar.
And while many of us think of citrus when it comes to Florida, we are also one of the largest sugarcane producing regions in the country.
Most of the sugarcane is produced along the southern and southeastern shores of Lake Okeechobee in southern Florida, where the growing season is long and the winter is generally warm.
To manage that much sugarcane requires time and effort,
especially if you're trying to also be sustainable and handle a changing workforce.
So, with Halloween right around the corner, we thought it would be a good idea to see how all that sugar is produced.
And that's why today's episode is all about taking a look behind the scenes at how sugarcane is grown in Florida.
And to help us out, we are joined by one of our alumni and a production supervisor for U.S. Sugar.
So my name is Joshua Jantz. I'm a production supervisor for U.S. Sugar. I work at Management Area 3, one of our 7 management areas, and I also oversee our internal mechanical planting group. Prior to that, and actually just recently, I just finished my master's of agribusiness there at UF, and I have my bachelor's from UF as well.
Now, Josh started out with degrees in agricultural operations management and animal sciences, meaning his path to sugar wasn't the most linear.
So yeah, it's kind of a strange shift, especially with an animal science background. I grew up in Highlands County, so right around one of our farming areas. We actually have a management area in Highlands County now. So I kind of got my first taste of the sugar industry touring U.S. Sugar late in high school. After that, I ran into needing an internship towards the end of my undergrad and went to a seminar where U.S. Sugar was coming and talk and found a lot of interest with it. Kind of wanted to see if I really wanted to go the animal science route or not. And I ended up doing the internship and I fell in love with it, and the rest is history.
Now, sugarcane might not necessarily be the crop that you associate with the Sunshine State, but our warm weather and soil make for prime real estate in this industry.
So historically, when you think of domestic production, you think of Florida, Louisiana, Texas, and Hawaii. Over the years, that's kind of become a little bit more condensed. In the modern day, you think of Louisiana and Florida as your main players. Louisiana actually has the greatest acreage, kind of clustered around the Houma, Baton Rouge, Thibodeau, Everett area. And it's actually expanding north over there. So they beat us in acreage. But having a catch-22, we tend to be more productive in terms of sugar. And that's largely due to our highly nutrient-rich soil types and our longer growing seasons. You know, we have a very good subtropical climate here in South Florida. We have multiple different soil types. We have mucky soils that are very nutrient-rich, sandy soils, and some traditionals that offer a little bit of extra gain. And all of that is just kind of a perfect storm for sugarcane to do well.
Like any other industry, sugarcane is faced with its own unique challenges.
Challenge number 1, according to Josh, is a lack of knowledge about how our food system works.
The information gap that you see across the entire agricultural sector is always present, of course. Trying to educate consumers and show them different aspects of what we do and how we do it is always a continuing thing that we're working on.
One specific topic that is always important when it comes to education and management is environmental quality and sustainability.
When you kind of hone in on the sugarcane sector, environmental quality and sustainability is always at the top of your mind. So talking about air quality, something that we do a lot of education on and try to demonstrate to our consumers. We do a lot of monitoring on that as well. And we've shown that our air quality is consistently better in our farming communities than it is in other areas of the state.
For those of you who were tuned in last season, BMPs, or best management practices, might sound familiar.
These BMPs are one way that producers, like U.S. Sugar, can help preserve water quality as well.
The bigger issue that's been a long-term player for us has been water quality. So ever since the implementation of the Everglades Forever Act in 1994, we've had a requirement to reduce our annual reduction in phosphorus emissions off of our farms. So in saying that, we're really the only farmers in the United States that are required to reduce our nutrients in the water that exits our farms. And since 1996, we've demonstrated an average of 57% reduction in phosphorus emissions. That stems from a long-term partnership that's been a major key advantage for us that we have with IFAS, who helped us develop our best management practices that we adhere to get that reduction.
In addition to all the concerns about how we produce sugarcane, the industry has a concern about who will do the producing.
Kind of a big issue we see from an operations standpoint is just the growing age gap amongst the farming community. We have a very large aging workforce, and we don't have a high replacement rate. So as we get to that point of high retirements, we don't necessarily have experienced labor to replace them. So a way that we kind of help rectify that, and it also plays into our sustainability aspects, is a high investment in precision agricultural technologies.
For those of you not in the know, precision agriculture is a type of operations management to maximize efficiency, making it possible to grow more using less, well, of everything.
It does this with the most cutting-edge technology.
When you start thinking about precision technology, that's not as simple as it used to be. With the technology revolution that we've seen over the recent years and high levels of advancement, it's become very diverse and wide scale.
For Josh, there are lots of different ways that precision agriculture is integrated into the day-to-day operations of his job at U.S. Sugar.
Kind of a little fun fact also about U.S. Sugar as a company is we have the largest privately owned Wi-Fi network, to the best of my knowledge still. And that's something we developed as we continue to expand our precision ag operations. More kind of considerations when you get into that technology side, we have a lot of investment in fertilizer and agrochemical rate control that helps us use the bare minimum amount of nutrients possible across our fields and our crops.
While some technology expands our capabilities, others address previously mentioned issues.
The first thing that kind of comes to mind is auto steer guidance. And that gets back to helping out with the experienced labor issue. When we have that auto steer, we can assign an operator to a piece of equipment and we can put them in it, and it's going to help them be more efficient and more effective at their tasks and also free them up quite a bit. So you don't have to be a seasoned veteran riding a tractor to get in a piece of equipment with auto steer and still do the task. It's a very great aid for our operators.
These technologies also allow for a more efficient use of our resources, which is better for both the environment and the bottom line.
We also invest a lot in products from a company called Tech that helps to optimize our harvest operations. Kind of think of it like Uber is kind of how we describe it. We have harvested cane in the field, and we have haul tractors that take our harvested cane to our elevators on our rail cars. The Tech helps to optimize that by basically assigning a game tractor that's hauling our cane to go back to a particular harvester in the most efficient manner possible, which therefore, optimizes our time, optimizes our emissions, and helps us be more sustainable.
So you kind of hit on the next question there, which is what are the economic motivators, which you've kind of addressed. You said you're dealing with the changing nature of the labor force that ag has to source from. You're trying to be more sustainable to address the concerns of the population, and you're trying to be more efficient, get more out of each input you're using. Are there any other economic factors that might be driving you to transition to more precision ag?
I think that's a great summary, Caleb, and that's really kind of the bare bones aspects of it. But we're really looking at the end of the day to be as sustainable as possible. And by using our precision technology, that's really our driver. And the big thing for us is we want to use the absolute bare minimum level of nutrients on every field. That gets back to our sustainability. That gets back to the Everglades Forever Act and our BMPs. And that really is kind of our bread and butter, is we want to use the absolute bare minimum as we can.
It was Josh's interest in building upon the strengths of his previous degrees that led him back to the University of Florida to pursue the Master of Agribusiness program.
As I was nearing the end of my undergrad, the Ag Operations Management program and Animal Science program, they both have a lot of inherent strengths. I learned a lot about operations management, obviously, but I felt that I was kind of lacking in a business analytical side of things. And I knew that would be important going forward. So I started looking and trying to assess different programs and, where would be the best fit for me. And the MAB program popped up. It was very appealing being that it was fully online, that it was, still a business emphasis, but with a focus on agriculture. And that really appealed to me in the small program size. And it was one of the best decisions I've made in my education career. I took away a lot of good information. I'd say the biggest thing that I took away from it outside of just the general business knowledge was the ability to think more critically and more analytically about things and having that tool set to do more in-depth analytics from a business standpoint across all the different projects I'm involved in.
Now, the biggest part of our MAB program is the capstone. For students, this is a real-world internship or special project which allows them to apply the knowledge and skills they have gained to their particular interests.
Josh's project focused on looking at the pros and cons of using a type of precision agriculture called mechanical planting to alleviate labor costs.
So the capstone actually kind of aligned with a project that I started working on right around the time I started with the company, actually. So like I said earlier, I'm over our mechanical planting internal crew. So mechanical planting within the industry is not the industry standard. When you plant sugarcane, it's typically done through hand labor, which sugarcane is planted through vegetative propagation. So we cut a standing stalk of sugarcane we use for seed. We drop it in a furrow and it germinates from the different eyes that are on that stalk. With mechanical planting, we're using a sugarcane harvester, typically equipped with a seed kit that helps to reduce our damage, to load it into a mechanized planter and go and deliver it to a field. It has inherent challenges and benefits that we look at, and it is an expanding operation, not just in Florida, but especially in Louisiana. In Louisiana, we've seen it taken off like wildfire over recent years. So with my crew, we travel across all of our farming areas and we perform production level planting, but we still do research activities on the side to try to refine our operations and align us to a position that long term we could expand this.
The trade-off with mechanical planting currently is that it requires less labor, but more seeds.
When you compare hand planting activities and mechanical planting activities, you see a dramatic increase in seed use for mechanical planting activities. So I'd say it's, twice as much, if not 3 times as much seed utilized, and that's a large opportunity cost.
Through lots of testing, Josh's project has worked to reduce the amount of seeds that are used.
So we do a lot of testing to see how can we reduce our seed use, how can we bolster our germination, and how can we maximize our productivity with these machines.
To figure out if these changes are successful requires a lot of analysis.
Other aspects of that crew, we do a lot of tracking of our data. So we try to identify our weak points. Like we do with anything in an operation, we try to identify weak points in the damage to the billets, which is our major driver of increased seed use and decreased germination. We look at it before we cut a field, we assess it behind the harvesters, we assess it as soon as it comes out of the planters in the furrow by hand. And I also go back and we're assessing it this year with drones, utilizing some software to kind of get a better view and some quantitative data to compare our different tests. And the last major thing that I've done as part of the capstone is we're looking at 10 years of historical plant and harvest data. So we're kind of trying to compare, mechanized planting and hand planting activities, what our yields look like, what our seed use looks like, and kind of really pinpoint our opportunity costs.
The goal of all of this testing and analysis is to identify the best path forward for sugarcane production.
When you get into mechanized planting, you have a lot less labor involved. And as you try to advance this technology, you're able to reduce your emissions because you have less equipment, less labor. But we really don't have a good idea yet of what the opportunity cost of that is, what the cost benefit trade-off is between hand and mechanical planting. So that's something I'm working on, and we want to see what our yields are. Are we seeing improvement over time? Is there a way we can kind of plug this into a Monte Carlo analysis file of the data and really assess what we have going on?
Okay, and then to wrap up, this episode, we're hoping it's going to release sometime in October, right around with Halloween, when sugar consumption in the United States tends to be a little bit higher. And these episodes are designed to give people a 15-minute glimpse into various aspects of an event or an industry that they weren't familiar with before. So with that in mind, is there one key takeaway, or what is a key takeaway you would want to leave one of our listeners with?
A key takeaway that I would always emphasize to people I talk to is, make sure that you take the time and different opportunities to kind of learn more about what we're doing here as farmers. It's a very, I wouldn't say sheltered, but there's not a lot of information out there generally, or it's hard to access sometimes. And we do our best to push that out to people. But it's important that everybody takes the time to learn. At the end of the day, we're just family farmers that are working to support our families, and we live in the communities that we farm in. Our sustainability, our product, our consumer safety is paramount to us at the end of the day. And we love to inform people. We love to tell people what we do down here. If you come ask any of us, if you run into somebody from U.S. Sugar or any of the sugar producers down here, we're happy to take the time to talk to you and just tell you the different things we're doing. Kind of one of the opportunities, and this isn't a plug by any sense of the means, but something that we do here that's kind of cool that some people may have heard of, some may have haven't, is we actually have the Sugar Express, which is an old restored locomotive with restored cars that we run here. It's open to the general public to get tickets to ride on a really cool old train and take the opportunity while you're there to learn more about what we do as farmers down here and learn learn more about our communities through the different stops.
As we reach the end of today's episode, we want to thank Josh for joining us today.
And we want to emphasize the point that there are many fun activities, like consuming candy for Halloween, that are supported by the day-in, day-out efforts of farmers.
This is a topic that we plan to touch on throughout the rest of the season, but for now, we'll leave you here with some links in the description below to learn more if you're interested.
We hope you will join us next episode. Until then, be sure to keep your blood sugar up.
Happy Halloween, everyone!